So let me ask you, why do you think that some people leave this earth differently? Why was it different for you?
They said, because I bleed in 6 colors.
Uh, you bleed six colors? Oh, wow. Okay, I didn't see that coming.
We're extraordinarily diligent and extraordinarily transparent about it.
Okay, Steve, if you say so. What does Steve Jobs, the co founder of Apple, think about the state of politics in 2024? The interview starts out pretty interesting, but then stuff gets weird. Let's see what happened. Hi, Steve. Good to see you. So, what do you think about the state of the political landscape right now?
This is America.
Yeah, I totally get that. Do you think everyone around the world has the same problems with politics?
No, every single country has different standards.
That's true. Did you ever think that we would be here today?
It's surreal.
It's surreal. Do you mean how the political campaigns are going? You know, the information shared in them and the mudslinging that's going to be happening from both sides?
There were a few handfuls, but there wasn't any, even a percent of what there is now. It's huge now.
Yeah, I think the ads are going to get worse as the election gets closer.
And this transformation is going to make some people uneasy. People from the PC world, like you and me. It's going to make us uneasy because the PC's taken us a long ways.
Okay, PC. Well, that could go a couple different ways. You could mean a personal computer. You are Steve Jobs. Or you can mean political correctness. But I hear you. There's going to be some name calling. There's probably going to be some racist and sexist remarks. It's not going to be pretty. It's kind of early days right now.
But when it really starts to happen, I think it's uncomfortable for a lot of people. And because it's change and a lot of vested interests are going to change and it's going to be different. So I think that we're embarked on that. Just because we're competing with somebody doesn't mean we have to be rude.
Well, that's true. What do you think of the former president who is running for president again?
This guy's a son of a bitch liar.
Oh, okay. Tell me how you really feel, Steve.
We've got all the data. We know this.
What do we know?
One is completely open and uncontrolled.
You said one. I think we know who you're referring to. So isn't it safe to say that you're not a fan of this person?
What happens sometimes, though, is that some people lie. Some people submit an app that they say does one thing, but really does something else.
And by app, I think you mean the application to become president or accept the nomination. Yeah, it does feel a little bit like we're not hearing the whole story. We're just getting sound bites about the narrative that the candidates are trying to get out there.
They try to hide it from us. They get very clever about that. They try to hide it from us, and we find it, and we reject it, and they run to the press, and they tell the press the story about oppression, and it gets written up, and they get their 15 minutes of fame because they hope it will convince us to change our minds, which it never does, but they keep trying to do that. And it's unfortunate, but we take it in the chin. That's part of what we do. And we don't run to the press and go, this guy's a son of a bitch liar. That's just not appropriate for us to do.
You just mentioned the press. Do you think the truth is getting out to the people in the public, Steve?
One of my beliefs very strongly is that any democracy depends on a free, healthy press. And so when I think of the most important journalistic endeavors in this country, I think of things like Washington Post, the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and publications like that. And we all know what's happened to the economics of those businesses.
Mhm.
And some of them are in real trouble. So even more than magazines, I think some of these newspapers are the news gathering and editorial organizations are really important. I don't want to see us descend into a nation of bloggers myself. I think we need editorial more than ever right now. So anything that we can do to help the New York Times and the Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal, and other news gathering organizations find new ways of expression so that they can afford to get paid, so they can afford to keep their news gathering and editorial operations intact, I'm all for.
So, Steve, you're talking about traditional media, like newspaper articles, political cartoons, and editorials, things like that, right?
Political cartoons got caught in that because by definition, they defame people.
Right.
So we didn't think of that. That was an unintended consequence of a rule that said you can't defame people.
And do you think there's a lot of defamation going on in politics right now?
We had a rule that said you can't defame other people. You can't defame people.
Sure, that's fair. We talked a lot about politics, Steve. Maybe a little too much. So let me wrap up by asking you, who is going to win the presidential election?
It's complicated. Oh, I have no idea. I have no idea.
Yeah, I hear you. It is complicated. We have a person who was president in the past. Then they lost an election, and now they're running to be president again. Kind of strange right now.
Because nobody's ever done this before.
Well, not quite, Steve. Grover Cleveland is the only former president who has ever come back after being defeated for re-election. And he won a second non-consecutive win.
I absolutely think we could do better.
Oh, yes, I agree. To me, I kind of feel like when a person tries to make a comeback move like this, it's just to feed a big ego.
So I don't see why you have to change if you get big.
I hear you. That makes sense. When people become famous or a powerful leader, sometimes they forget the person that they used to be. They stop being friendly or the respectful person they once were. It's really kind of sad, Steve. Don't you think?
Yes, I understand. And I feel your pain.
So, I want to talk about the tech companies for a minute. When it comes to Silicon Valley, are they involved in politics too much? Or maybe not enough?
Most people think not enough.
Oh, you think so? Tell me more about that.
We're doing the best we can. We're making mistakes. We're fixing them as fast as we can.
Are you really?
A lot of people in the Valley think we're really old fashioned about this.
Yeah, I worry about this stuff too.
And it's pissing us off.
Really? You're getting pissed off?
No, Silicon Valley's not monolithic. We've always had a very different view than some of our colleagues in the Valley.
Exactly. Who cares what other people think? It kind of reminds me of a quote. There are all kinds of stupid people that annoy me. But what annoys me the most is a lazy argument.
No, we have wonderful arguments.
Oh, okay. So it sounds like guys in tech are not all bad. You know, one person that comes to mind when I think of a tech bro is Elon Musk. Now, he can't become president since he was not born in the United States, so he's not even eligible to run.
He's a nice enough guy about it.
Oh, okay. So you like Elon Musk? I'm surprised you're calling him a nice guy.
They're doing pretty well, actually, in some ways, and they have some work to do in other ways.
Sure. You know, who isn't guilty of that? I think a lot of people would agree that they could work on themselves a little bit. So I want to wrap up this chat about politics with one more question. Thinking about who might win the 2024 presidential election, and I'd like to think that presidential candidates are not seeking the position just for power. I'm hoping that they're going for this position for good, right?
Um, yeah, I guess why wouldn't they be is the question.
Because being president of the United States is a leadership role, not a dictatorship. There are multiple branches of government, as you know, and they all have to balance each other out. It's not like one person gets to call all the shots.
The best ideas have to win.
So,
Otherwise, good people don't stay.
Sure. I don't really want to think about people leaving the country because of the person who's in power. Kind of a scary thought.
So we have a history of doing that.
Yeah, I know it happens. People get fed up with the government and go to another place to pursue a better life.
I've actually always done a bit of that.
You what? Left the United States? I'd go so far as to say, Steve, that you actually left Earth. You died in 2011, remember?
There are
Ashes,
holes in
others.
some websites, but those holes are getting plugged real fast.
Um, are you saying that you left Earth through some holes in a website? What? See, what are you talking about?
So I understand that's a
entirely.
problem for some people.
Yeah, that's a little strange for me to wrap my head around. So, Steve, are you suggesting that back in 2011, one way to leave Earth was to exit through holes in websites?
Oh, in its day, sure it was.
Okay, yeah, well, that's interesting. So, let me ask you, why do you think that some people leave this Earth differently? Why was it different for you?
They said, because I bleed in 6 colors.
Uh, you bleed 6 colors? Oh, wow. Okay, I didn't see that coming.
We're extraordinarily diligent and extraordinarily transparent about it.
Okay, Steve, if you say so, we're going to move on now. See, I told you that things got pretty weird. Just wait till the next installment of this interview. There's more weird stuff to come. Now, this is not an AI generated video. This is a video with a little bit of clever editing and creative license. Obviously, we lost Steve years ago, and I'm creating this video with all the love and admiration that Steve Jobs deserves. Oh, and one more thing. If you like this interview, subscribe to BlatzChatz because there's more to come.